We're putting together the Outex Dome 180 with a Sony FX3 and a 24-70 G-Master lens. First things first, we're going to make sure that we have battery and media in our camera before we do our installation. First thing, I like to start with putting the camera body in first. Don't worry about stretching this out. Just make sure it doesn't snag on any sharp corners. And then you always want to make sure that you kind of match the orientation of the bag with the camera that you're using. So clearly this little bump is the top. Once we have it here, I'm going to install the lens. I'm going to kind of fold this down to get easier access. Gonna undo that. Take our lens, feed it directly in, make sure it doesn't bunch up and snag on the bag. There we go. And once we're there, straighten everything out. From here, we're going to start with disassembling our dome. So it comes prepared just like this. Grab our towel, protect the dome glass. Go ahead and unscrew the external nut from the dome. And from here, set that aside. We're going to pop this out. So here's your universal adapter. This is the internal nut that we're going to take off as well. Sometimes it's a little tight. And then this is for later to create a good seal with your bag around here. From this point, I'm going to set this aside just a little, move our bag back into place, and we're going to thread the adapter directly onto the lens. And then we can start peeling this back up a little bit further, and we're going to wrap this around just like this. Doesn't need to be perfect right now, just getting enough of the material over the lip. Trial and error, here we go. Once we're at this point, now we can kind of pull all this excess down, and you want it to sit right on the edge. You don't want to have too much bunched up, or else you're not going to get a proper seal. There we go. So nice and even across. That's pretty good. And then from here, we're going to take this portion with the O-ring. This is going to act as brace. Once it's there, you're going to take the internal nut and slide that into place. And once you get it down far enough, you can actually use the tool to get this a little bit tighter. You don't want to over tighten this, or else sometimes it's gonna leak on you and it's not beneficial. Sometimes you can check around the edge, see if you're getting a good fit. It's pretty tight, not too bad right there. And test that one more time, maybe get one more little, there we go. All right, from this point, now we can take our external nut. I'm gonna actually feed this through the other end. just like so. This is crucial for making sure that the dome sits in place and doesn't shift. It just keeps everything together. From this point now, we can actually take our dome and pop it directly on top. So the O-ring that sits on the universal adapter is creating that seal, that secondary seal on the dome. So you want to make sure that that's nice and snug in place. Sometimes you're going to hear a little click, and you just want to make sure that everything's seated correctly and you're getting a good, kind of a good seal. There we go. And then with the external nut, you're going to thread that onto the dome. And then once you have a relatively good hand tight there we go. You're going to take your tool and just get that little extra bit just to ensure it's not going to go anywhere. Great. So we're almost there. So now we have the full installation. So I'm just going to double check here. We're getting a pretty good seal. Nothing's popping out. It's all relatively watertight. Nothing's going to get in. And now we can go for our rear installation. So here we have this, which is going to thread into the bottom of your camera. We're going to undo this, similar to the dome, except it's just one seal point on the bag. So that goes there, clamp ring, and then we're going to lift this up. Also make sure that your screen is in the correct position prior to sealing this up completely. There we go. And then I'm just gonna pop this directly into place. There we go. Tighten this down. This is adjustable, so if you need to position this in a different spot, it's relatively easy to do once it's secured. There we go. Same deal as last time. I'm just going to pull the bag over the lip of the rear glass element. Even spacing. Not too bad. All right. And once we have that done, we're going to take our washer, make sure that it's in the correct orientation. So flat side should be used against the washer area, or the locking spot right there. Locked in place. Threading this, just like so. And this is very similar to the front as well, so if you're using the flat port, it's exactly the same. And then now that we have this pretty tight, just kind of check the edges, make sure nothing's bunched up. Looking pretty good. Maybe do one last wiggle tight. There we go. Now we have a relatively good angle to see our camera, mess with our controls, turn on the camera, and now we have a sealed camera that we can go dunk into the water. So keep in mind too, when you're testing this in the water, check for bubbles, see if there's any like obvious leaks coming from any specific spot. If there is, pull the camera out of the water, undo everything, retest. Also make sure that there's no punctures on the bag itself. You're pretty much ready to shoot.